guys.
Hey guys.
It's time for another Walking Dead review. This time we're reviewing Fear the Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 5, titled Cobalt. If you haven't seen the episode and you want to avoid any spoilers, you're going to want to skip this video and come back later because everything we say from this point forward is going to be a spoiler. Well, the first thing is we learned what cobalt means.
Yes, we did.
Which was a question in our Q&A. Actually, a couple of the questions in our Q&A got answered in this episode.
Yeah.
But cobalt basically means evacuation.
Yeah, and I imagine it all. He doesn't specify what, but he said humane termination.
It's
as part
everybody
of cobalt.
in like medical captivity.
Yeah.
I would think.
So I'm thinking it's I think it's firebombing. I think once they're gonna evac, and then once everybody, all the troops are safe, they're gonna firebomb LA. I think that's the humane termination.
Okay. See, I took that to mean everybody who's in medical captivity, like Nick or Griselda or Strand. Yeah, they'd be like gassed or something like that.
I think it's firebombing.
And then the people in the neighborhoods are just like, "See ya, you're on your own." But it could mean literally anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, other than basically, driving down the street, spraying bullets into houses. I mean, that wouldn't be very humane at all.
No, that wouldn't be humane.
Okay, another question from our Q&A was about Strand, and when the episode first started, I was like, "Oh, I don't like that guy." By the end of the episode, I'm like, "Man, Strand is awesome."
Yeah, he's well, because he was just tearing down that guy who left his family, Doug. Yeah, he was just tearing him down. But
yeah, he was kind of feeling him out. He's like, "Is this guy going to be useful later?
Yeah.
Because if not, I'm just going to let the officers."
And he wasn't. He completely cracked. So,
yeah.
But we don't know that's what he's doing. So it just seems like he's being an asshole. You don't find out until the end of the episode when Nick asks him why he saved him, and he said, "Because I need your talents."
Yeah.
And then it clicks, and you're like, "Oh, he was feeling Doug out to see if he was going to be useful or not."
Now, I would like to know what particular talents he saw in Nikki that he wants to utilize.
Or what particular talents do a heroin addict have? Because he made a point to point out that he's a heroin addict, not just an addict, a heroin addict. So I imagine that there is something particular to that that is going to help.
Lying and manipulating, but Strand seems pretty darn good at manipulating, so it doesn't seem like he would need somebody else with that skill.
Yeah, so I'm very interested to see what that talent is.
Continuing with Strand, I want to know what he did, what his job was. Because he kind of alluded to, like, he's like, "I'm a closer," which means, he's a salesman. But he didn't really feel like a salesman. He felt like he was like the leader of a cult or something. or
he kind of
or
did.
at least kind of, maybe he's like the founder of like a mega church or something.
But he also states, like when he's talking to Nick, he's talking about how, society used to be run by the people drinking their frappes and stuff, and now it's a different type of people. So I wonder if he was one of those people, and now he sees time to change, and so he's completely changed, and he's nothing like what he used to be. I want to know what happened that got him in there.
Yeah.
Like, why?
He didn't seem sick.
He doesn't seem sick, so why is he in with all the sick people?
Or did he get in there on purpose? Is this part of an overall plan for Strand? He is probably the most interesting, intriguing character in the show, and he's in, half of an episode.
Yes.
The other thing is, it doesn't seem like there's much of a time jump, if there is any at all, from last episode to this one.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
It almost seems like the next day,
the next day,
or maybe the day after that, but there really hasn't been much of a time jump. And we also find out that things are way worse than the military has been letting on. Like, they're taking massive casualties.
Yeah, like, I remember last episode, the commander guy telling them that they had a 6-mile clear radius around the encampment, and they don't. Yeah, that is totally not true. So that was interesting.
The thing I noticed is when we saw the hospital for the very first time, over half of the patients in like triage were military personnel.
Yeah.
There was like no civilians in there. They were all military personnel.
Yeah,
and they weren't all bitten.
Yeah,
so
not all
who
of
were they exchanging gunfire with? Who were they fighting? And of course, another thing that was asked in our Q&A, you guys are so great. Another question from our Q&A was Ophelia, was that a distraction or a ruse? And it wasn't.
It was.
It was a ruse.
I can't believe it.
I
was like, I just didn't think she had it in her to, especially not her boyfriend.
Yeah,
but
boyfriend.
Boyfriend. But she totally did. I was very surprised.
Yeah.
Even like after I find out that he's captured, I'm like, well, maybe she wasn't in on it and her dad just took advantage of the situation.
And it did kind of feel like that for a couple of minutes.
And then they go upstairs and talk about it, and no, she was totally in on it.
Yeah.
It was her and her dad cooked up this thing.
The writing was a little bit sloppy in there for me because at first it seemed like she was in on it, then it seemed like she wasn't, and then we find out, okay, yeah, she absolutely was.
Yeah.
So it just felt like a little muddled there. I think they could have made that more clear from the start. And we learn a lot about Daniel in this episode. Daniel Salazar. He wasn't a victim of like the death squad and the torture and stuff. He was the guy doing it.
Yeah, and this whole time, I thought he was a victim. I thought his family was victimized by the war. I didn't realize that he was one of the people doing the terrorizing in the war. Like, he was one of the bad guys. And like,
which makes total sense now.
It does,
Perfect sense. One of the things I'm actually a little disappointed in with the show is they know for sure the bites cause the turn, and they know that everybody is infected. If you die, you turn. But we didn't get to see the process of learning that.
Yeah.
And I think that was a major mistake.
Yeah, because they made a big deal out of it for The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that was a big secret. And in this one here is almost like it's just common knowledge.
Yeah.
So,
which I guess if you were in like one of those military hospitals, you would know.
Yeah, obviously the military hospital is going to know because these people who are dying of other wounds are suddenly going to start turning.
It seems like nobody in Rick's group was ever in that, so it makes pretty sense for them to not know that everybody's infected. But I want to see the process of learning that. I would have been really interested in seeing that.
Because they made such a big deal out of it for Walking Dead, they should have made us privy to that process.
Yeah. And then there's Travis. I like Travis less and less every episode.
Yeah,
because as we were watching, you even mentioned, she's like, man, he just let himself get bullied.
Yeah, he's a teacher. And you would think a teacher would recognize the signs of bullying, that's part of their job, and would know how to counteract that. And he totally did not even recognize that the commander was bullying him, and then allowed it to happen, allowed himself to be bullied. And it just went to show how weak his character is. And I have zero respect for his character. I don't care about his character anymore. I'm like, he's just, nah.
He's my absolute least favorite character on the show. Go ahead and kill Travis. I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled with Travis. And it's crazy that he's with Maddie because Maddie is an amazing character.
Yeah.
She is so strong. I mean, she knew what Daniel was doing and just allowed it to happen. She's like, yeah, I'm not going to go down there and watch it, but he's right. We need this information.
She was on the fence for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, and then he was like, do you not want me to do it, or do you not want to know that I'm doing it? And she was like, yeah, you got to get
She's
that
like,
info.
go do it.
Yeah. So it's so weird to have two polar opposite characters together.
And it just that could have been like a latent part of her personality that's coming out.
Yeah,
now
it could be.
That the world is going to hell.
Maybe this splits them up because she's getting so hard and he's just very not.
And there's this fan theory that's going around on the interwebs that Maddie is Alpha from the comics. If you don't know who Alpha is, seriously read the comics.
Yeah,
they're
read
amazing.
the comics.
But if she is, it makes sense. I would totally be down if 2 seasons from now we see Maddie over in Virginia in the Alexandria safe zone as Alpha, because damn, it makes perfect sense for that character, for her evolve into that.
Yeah.
And staying with Travis for a moment, he talked the lieutenant into letting him go visit the hospital and talk to Dr. Exner to see what all was going on. And on the way there, the Humvee stops because there's a building that's just full of walkers.
The library.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Why is the library so full of walkers? Libraries are empty all the time.
And I mean, it's Like, at the end of days, who's going to the library? Maybe they had an overdue book.
It was like, the world's ending, return your books. Or it could have just been like a large group of people who were holed up there.
Yeah.
Because they said, well, people were holding out, they don't trust the government. So you could have like a lot of conspiracy theorists who were like, go to the library.
And it's actually, I mean, if you think about it, it's not a bad place to go because, the government's basically shut down right now and you need to do things all on your own. What does the library have? All of these books on how to do anything that you might need to do. Electrician, setting up a solar or a wind turbine, purifying water, building a fire. Like, all of that information's at the library. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't make
It kind of
makes sense, yeah. I mean, at this point in the turn, probably not. That'd be like where I would hole up because I'm a nerd, but...
Like, the world's ending. I need books. I need some way to pass the time.
Well, no, I'd be like,
and then your glasses fall off and they break, and you're like, it's not fair. And in that scene, the lieutenant dies. Thank God. I was so tired of that guy.
Every time he talked, I was like, I don't think anybody's issuing him orders. I think he's making it all up because he is just an ass.
Yeah. And like, well, there's this one moment near the very beginning of the episode where Travis is talking. It's before they've left to go to the hospital, and he's like, well, you need to take that up with Dr. Exner, and he's like, well, take me to her, and he's like, oh, you can't do that. And then like 2 minutes later, he's like, well, let's go see the doctor. And Travis is like, what the F, man?
I thought I couldn't.
And he actually says, I have a gun. I can do whatever I want. Which shows you his mentality and the way he approaches the world. Yeah. So I'm like, dude, I really hope that guy doesn't make it into the apocalypse. Because he is freaking Negan, bound.
Yes.
He would turn into a Negan-type character.
Yep.
And finally, Griselda did die, but she didn't turn. And I thought she would be like the catalyst for the major zombie outbreak in the neighborhood. Yeah. And boy, was I wrong. I mean, Liza actually put her down, which I did not see coming. And I want to see Liza break that to Mr. Salazar.
Yeah.
That dude's going to lose his mind.
I mean, she was dead already, so, I mean, really, she just mutilated her corpse.
Well, just the fact that Griselda is dead.
Yeah.
And really, finally.
For real this time.
For real. We're actually going to finish up. The arena.
Yeah.
While Daniel Salazar is torturing the corporal down in the basement, he tells him a story about how they locked... What did he say, like 2,000?
Yes, like there was a bunch of people in the arena and people started turning so quickly that they were unable to tell the infected from the not infected, so they just locked them in. And
I'm recalling the word 2,000 or the number
2,000 sounds familiar.
I think that's what it was. So there's 2,000 walkers locked in an arena and they're pounding against those doors, and from the teaser it looks like they're going to break loose, and that is going to be the fall of Los Angeles. Yeah. Or at least this portion of Los Angeles. Yeah. Because as a whole, Los Angeles has fallen. We just haven't seen the city.
Yeah.
This is city.
This is the city.
All right. I really do think that's everything this time. If there's anything that we forgot that you think we should have talked about, let us know in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, and we hope you did, be sure to click that like button and subscribe for more reviews.
And thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.